I felt it was a little, but he cleaned it Friday night.
That's why I want to everyone breathe it in, then I'll come the Shabbos once you've all.
Yeah, that's why I had to go down to the name of it.
Where?
I'm kidding.
We're on Lama Gimel on the base.
I had to go down to the name of it.
Lama Gimel on the base, second line from the bottom. We're on Chazah from Tanya Yiduch. See, you're good with that?
There's no one there.
Tanya Yiduch. Tanya Yiduch. We learned in another brayso. Arve Nachal. The pasuk says willows by a brook. So I know only Arve Nachal. I only know that willows from a brook are okay. Shalbal b'shalhar minan. How do I know from a field or from mountains that it's okay? How do I know it? Talmud Lemmer, the pasuk tells us Arve Nachal, that yud, which is Lashon Rabbim, which teaches me mikol makom, any aravas from anywhere are fine. You don't need specifically to be from a stream. It's better. It doesn't need to be. Abba Shol says no. You know what I learned from the word Arve, the plural? Shtayim. That there are two types of aravas on sukkahs. They need aravas for. Achas the lulav wants to tell you for the mitzvah of binding, with your lulav. And one is va'achas the migdash, and one is for the zecher, not zecher, but they would actually walk around the base of migdash. They would walk around with narava, the kahanim, around the mizbeach. That's what the Arve is coming to teach me. As an aside, Abba Shol. Why was his name Abba Shol? Was his name first name Abba, last name Shol? What was Abba Shol? So his name was Shol, and Abba was a title of a distinction. Like Abba Shol. It's like same way we say Abba like a father. Abba is like chashuv. His name was Abba Shol. He's actually the tallest man in his generation. It's Gemara Nida. He's the tallest guy in his generation. I don't know what's on that.
How tall?
I don't know how tall he was. And as a profession, guess what he did? He was a grave digger. That's what he did. Abba Shol. And he's a Tana. He's quoted all over the place. The one thing he was especially major about, he always spoke about what happened to Beis Hamikdash. That was his big thing. He was testified about many things that happened. He said, I have a kabbalah, this would happen. A lot of his psukim has to do with the Beis Hamikdash. And over here as well, he said, no. You know why it says Arve? Because one of them is for what was done in the Beis Hamikdash, which is very much in line of the things that he would teach about, or things in the past. Okay, that's the end of the Bryce. The Gemara says, Rabban Lamikdash Benalu, the Tanakamba, where do they learn out that there was an Arava in the Beis Hamikdash that was used for a specific mitzvah? The Gemara says, they learned it as Alachul Meishim B'Sinai. Three things: Esnetias, Arava, Nisachamayim, Alachul Meishim B'Sinai. These three things, the 10 young trees, which we're not going to get into, it's a whole halach about Shemitah. Arava, the one that we want, the Rav, which was the ceremony of walking around with the Arava in the Beis Hamikdash, and Nisachamayim, pouring the water on sukkahs. These three things, where do you know them from? They're not said in the Torah. They're Alachul Meishim B'Sinai, and that's where the Tanakama got it from. Okay, this is really what we're up to right now. Tanu Rabban, the Rabbanan taught in the Brayso. He quotes the pasuk again, Arve Nachal, willows by a brook, which teaches me, Hagedelis ala Nachal. We want aravas that grow by a brook, Prat letzavtzafa Hagedela bein haharim. To exclude the tzavtzafa plant, which is very similar to an arava plant, that grows between the mountains, amongst the mountains. So when it says Arve Nachal, we learned before, it doesn't have to grow by a Nachal. But we want the types of aravas that sometimes grow by a Nachal, sometimes don't. There are some ones that never grow by a Nachal. And that is actually we're coming to exclude. And that's the tzavtzafa. It's out. Because it only grows amongst the mountains. No good. That's what the Rashi teaches us. So the Amr Abzera says Abzera, Mikra, where do we have a pasuk that tells me there's something wrong with the tzavtzafa? You don't look at a pasuk and say Arve Nachal, we don't want like aravas that never grow by the water. We want ones only that generally grow by water, even if sometimes they don't. There's something wrong with the tzavtzafa. Where are you getting it from that Arve Nachal is teaching you there's something wrong with aravas that grow by mountains? Could be just telling you an example of places where it grows. There must be something wrong. We must have a pasuk that tells us that a tzavtzafa plant is something worse, and therefore it excludes them. So what pasuk do we have? So there's a pasuk in Yecheskel, and Yecheskel is giving rebuke to Klal Yisrael, and he says in the name of Hashem, he says as if Hashem's talking, Kach al mayim rabim. Kach means I planted you. Why is Kach mean planted? Because it takes up nutrients. You took up nutrients. You were planted al mayim rabim by many waters. You're planted as an arava kilu. It's a mushal by many waters. But what did you do, Klal Yisrael? Tzavtzafa samay. You place yourself. Samay means place. You place yourself like a tzavtzafa. What you see from this pasuk is that an arava that goes by the water is much more geshmak, while the ones that are tzavtzafas are not. So Hashem's saying, I made you like an arava by the water, but you made yourself like a tzavtzafa. So I see from here that tzavtzava is a negative. It's not as good of a plant as the rava plant that grows by the water. So when the Torah tells me arve nachal, it makes sense. It's coming to tell me not the tzavtzava plant. Amrle Abaya says Abaya to Reb Zera. Who says it? That's how you read the pasuk. The Dilma Perusha Kamafarish. Maybe the pasuk is explaining itself. You're putting a comma in the wrong spot. This is how you should learn the pasuk. Kacha ma'im rabim, I planted you by many waters. Umay nihu, and what's the type of plant that I planted you? Like as a mushel? Tzavtzafa. Not kach amayim rabim, I planted you by many waters, but no, you made yourself like a tzavtzafa. No. Maybe read the pasuk differently. It's a pirush. Going back to the pasuk for a second. Kacha ma'im rabim, I planted you by many waters. Tzavtzafa sama, and you became a tzavtzafa. Not as in what you did not become. That is what you became, a tzavtzafa, which is very big leaves, beautiful. Where do you see in the pasuk that I put you by many waters, but no, something negative, tzavtzafa sama? So Reb Zera answered back, Imkain is Reb Zera responded. Even though it doesn't say Amrle, some Ger says have Amrle. Imkain, he says, my samai. Why does it say the word samai? He placed him. It's an extra word. Just say, Kacha ma'im rabim, I planted you by many waters, which is a tzavtzafa. Why does it say samai? Sounds like it's coming to tell you, I planted you by many waters, but tzavtzafa samai. You place yourself like a tzavtzafa. It's coming to tell you what you did. Not that an example of what ma'im rabim is. So explain the pasuk like this. Amar Bavo says Bavo to explain the mashal. Amar Kadosh Baruch Hu says Hashem, Ani amarti sheyu Yisrael lefanai kekacha ma'im rabim. I said that I want Klal Yisrael to be like planted by ma'im rabim. I want you to be like there's a rava tree who's planted by many waters. Umaynu, what is that? An arava. Vehein samay atzman ketzavtzafa shabarim. But they place themselves like the tzavtzaf of the mountains, which is a negative thing. You see from Ravo also how he read the pasuk that it's a negative, and tzavtzaf is a negative connotation of a plant, so you can't use that plant as a what's it called? As a arava. By the way, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, just to tell you about that word, I never like chat this 100%, but anytime you say Hashem's name, a lot of times you throw in a bracha or a praise. So when you say like HaKadosh, which is just like Hashem, it's the holy one, Baruch Hu, you should be blessed. I always thought it was HaKadosh Baruch Hu, like the holy blesses He. And is that how you thought it was? Mm-hmm. That's not the pshat. I'm pretty sure the pshat is you say HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
So why would you say that?
So you say Yisbarach, or you say Hashem Yisbarach. Why Hashem Yisbarach? Hashem, He should be blessed. Right? Hashem Yisbarach v'Yisala. He should be blessed and He should be uplifted. We bless HaKadosh Baruch Hu when we say His name. HaKadosh, the Holy One, Baruch Hu, should be blessed. I think that's the pshat. Yeah, what did you say?
No.
Okay. Very similar Gemara, but a different version. Very easy Gemara right now. There's a different version of events. Ika demasni la lahaikra amasnisa. Ika, there are those demasni la who taught lahaikra, this pasuk in Yecheskel, amasnisa, on the brisa itself. Not as its own thing that Reb Zera said Ma'ikra. It was learned on the brisa itself. The brisa said, don't take the tzavtzafa, and the brisa itself quoted the Gemara. The quoted the pasuk in Yecheskel. Kacha ma'im rabim, I planted you by many waters, tzavtzafa sama, but you made yourself like a tzavtzafa. It means the brisa itself brought this pasuk. Earlier we had it, the brisa just said the rule, and Reb Zera says, what pasuk is it? Here we have it, that it was the brisa itself said the pasuk. And on that, a little different. Here, Maska for Reb Zera. Reb Zera's the one that asked, not Abaya. Reb Zera asked, maybe it's not something to say a negative thing. The pasuk is just explaining itself. Kacha ma'im rabim, I planted you by many waters. Ma'inu, what is that? That's a tzavtzafa. Not that you made yourself like a tzavtzafa, but it's a praise. It's saying the good thing. I made you by many waters, which was a tzavtzafa. So the Gemara answers. Here the Gemara doesn't say who it says the answer. It's just a random person. We don't know who. On that, the Gemara said to Reb Zera, no, it came my samai. Then why would it say samai? Just say tzavtzafa. The fact it says tzavtzafa samai, it's coming to tell you, I did by many waters, but you made yourself like a tzavtzafa, which is a negative thing. And on that, the same thing. Amar Ravo says Ravo, Amar Kadosh Baruch Hu says Hashem. Ani amarti, I said, sheyu Yisrael lefanika kacha ma'im rabim. I had wanted that Klal Yisrael should be before me like a plant that's planted by many waters. Umayniu, and what is that? Da'arava. V'hein samei atzmen ketzavtzava shabahar, but they place themselves like the tzatzafa of the mountains. So it's really just another version of the exact same thing. But we're coming out with is that we have a brisa that tzatzafa is out, like our Mishnah. Tzatzafa is no good. We saw two reasons so far. One is earlier, its leaves are different than an arava. They're not like a stream. They're round. But this brisa is telling us it's not as good of a plant. It's a greyasa. It's a shvacha plant in comparison to the regular arava bush. We're going to go a little bit further. Tanu Rabbanan. The Rabbanan taught in the brisa. This is a brisa.
These are actually different, right?
Yes, they are. They are. But this brisa is not coming out for leaves. It's coming that doesn't grow by water. It doesn't grow by water. The tzatzas grow in the mountains always.
We're able to differentiate.
Yeah. Tell the difference also. Tanu Rabbanan. It says the Rabbanan in a brisa. Ezehu arava, ve'ezehu tzatzva. Give me a description. Okay, like Menachem, like you just said a second ago. How do you even know? Like, what's an arava and what is a tzatzafa? So there's three differences about them. Three differences. Someone said this last time we were learning, and here the Gemara says it. He's not here right now. The Brisa says arava. You know what an arava is? Kana shala ode. Kana, its stem, shala, it. Its stem, the stem of it, odem is red. Aravas have red stems. The ola shala moshach. The ola and the leaf shala of it, the leaf of it, is moshach. It's like long and narrow. It's extended. Looks like a stream. It's long and narrow. The third thing is upia chalak, and its mouth, its edge, means the edge going around the leaf. The pet of the leaf is smooth. It's not ridges. It's totally smooth. I'll show you in the picture in 1 second. Okay, the real classic arava, red stemmed. The leaves are like a stream. They like extended long and narrow, and it's smooth on the edges. Okay, but tzatzafa, says the Brisa. Why does the tzatzafa look? Kana shala lava. Its stem is white. The ola shala egel, and its leaf of it is round, circular. Upia doima lamago, and the edges of it, the mouth of it, the edge of the leaf is similar to a sickle. Mago is a sickle. Three differences. Take a look at the picture, just to give yourselves shmaka picture here. It's on page Memches, and it is pictured Sadi Vav. Sadi Vav and Sadi Ches. The contrast. Sadi Vav, pictured Sadi Vav on page Memches is the Arava. If you take a look, they show you that the stem is red, the leaves are long and narrow, and it shows you that the surface around it, the edges around it are very smooth. While pictured Sadi Ches, the tzatzafa is white stemmed, it shows you. It also shows you that the leaves are circular, and it shows you that the ridges, the thing around it, is similar to a sickle. You want to know what a sickle is? Look at picture Tzadi Tes on the next page, page Mem Tes, and you have there a magal, a sickle. I actually have the rubber bush. By the way, if you want to know, sometimes you buy rubbers and they're green stemmed. So the Mefarshim say, and they show you a picture here also, that they start off red and they turn green. That's fine. Green stemmed is also fine. It means it was once red stemmed. But white stemmed is a problem. Okay, so if you find green stemmed or rubbers, how many of the Munster rubbers I think are usually red stemmed? Am I right? Mm-hmm. The real good ones. You got a good batch. They're red. In my house in Toronto, we have the rubber bush, which we don't have anymore. My whole life we had it. And I remember one time a very chashva person came to my house. Mom is a major guy, not in our world, in the Lubavitch was my cousin. He's probably like you know, your Karen Elmater, like Chevra, like these type of guys. He's up there in Lubavitch. And he's by my house as a little kid. I still remember. I don't know what he was talking about. He went to look at my arava bush, if the leaves were smooth or they were like, to find out if it's really a arava, the proper arava. And I'm talking about like 20, 30 years ago. I don't know. At that time, I didn't know what he was talking about. I just remember him. What? Yeah, it's fine.
He said it was
I remember I remember him pointing it out to us. I just remember him looking at it and saying, you could tell if it's serrated, the edges, it's a problem. So I was like, it's still in my head till today what he said. Many years later. I had no clue what he was talking about. Zero. I knew it was an arava tree. Okay, those are the three differences. Frek the Gemara. Tanya, we learned in the Brisa. Doimel magal kosher. What? The Brisa says if its leaves are similar to a sickle, it's kosher. Dema lamaser, but if it's similar to a saw, then it's pasul. No, the Brisa seems to say that a mago is kosher. It's when it's similar to a saw that it's pasul. What's the difference between a saw and a sickle? I'm sorry to turn back to the pictures. That's why I always keep a placeholder there. Picture tzadi test as a sickle. If you look at the ridges, they're like pointed in one direction toward the handle. If you look closely, it's serrated in a way where it's like pointing in one direction backwards. While the saw next to it, the ridges are facing straight down. Okay? When it's like a mago, the Brisa says it's good. When it's like a saw, where it's straight down, not turned one way, then it's a problem. Mago's good. The master is the problem. That type of ridges are no good. That's the Gemara's question. It's a stira. Amar Abaya, says Abaya an answer. Ki tanyahi. You know when that Brisa was said by? That Brisa is talking about a very specific case. Bechilfa gila. Chilfa is another word for arava. At some point they changed the word for an arava. We'll see. Chilfa means an arava. It's called a gila arava. Gila is like a name of an arava. That's a gila arava. A gila arava is one specific arava that's taka okay if it's similar to a mago, to a sickle. It means generally a sickle is one of the ways it's not good. It's one of the things that makes a tzafzafa. But there's one type of arava called a gila, and a gila, its leaves are mashach, long and narrow. It's red stem. Happens to be it's not smooth. It's like a mago. That's taka okay. The gila, chilfa is like a word for arava. The arava called the gila, that's taka okay. That's okay. Specifically that one. So the Gemara says, Amar Abaya says, Abaya, very similar Gemara to what we had earlier in the parak. Amar Abaya, Shma Mino, you learn from here, Hai chilfa gila kasha leishana. That this arava called the gila is good for your Aishana. Aishana means your lulav, your dasim, your avas. It's good for your set. You see from here, it's fine. Gemara says, yeah, pshita, that's pasha. The Brisa says it's okay. It's talking about a chilfa gila. It says it's similar to mago. It says it's kosher. Of course it's okay. What's a bias chiddush? The Gemara answers, Ma'udetema, you might have thought to say, Hoyo, since this, le'shem levai, lo'niskasher, since it has an extra name, it's called the chilfa gila. It's not just called an arava. It's called a gila arava. Has like a nickname to it. Since it has a nickname to it, maybe it shouldn't be kosher. The Torah wants to bring an arava, not a arava gila. Kamash malon, then no. Even though it has an extra name, it's still okay. That's the Baya comes to teach you. The Gemara says, Ve'ema achanami, maybe here also it should be a problem. You know, the Havamina sounds actually a good Havamina. Maybe it shouldn't be good because it has an extra name. Where do you see not like that? The Gemara answers, it says, Arve Nachal Amar Achmana. The merciful one, Hashem said the word Arve Nachal, which teaches me Mikol Makom, any type. The Torah didn't tell you, bring this type of Rava. It says any type of Rava. Arve Nachal. Willows by a brook, any type of Ravas are fine. So you can bring any Arava that you want, even if it has an extra name. Not anyone you want, not Tzapsafa, but any Aravas that are that don't have these other problems, you're allowed to bring them. Stop over here.